Hello everyone, this is Daniel. This is a dubbing for Archiculture. It is time to look at one of the most famous monuments in the world, the Eiffel Tower, located in Paris, the capital of France. During the second half of the 19th century, a series of fairs, known as World's Fairs or International Expositions, were held where different countries showcased the technological advancements achieved by their nation. These fairs also served as the biggest platform to display artistic expressions through the elaborate architecture of the pavilions, which, it should be noted, had to be dismantled once the fair was over. Let's go back to 1884. When the decree was signed for the celebration of the 1889 Universal Exposition in Paris. Immediately, two engineers from the Eiffel Construction Company, named Maurice Coquelin and Émile Nouguier, designed a tower that would be the centerpiece of attention. Although Gustave Eiffel, the head of the company, was not initially fond of the idea, the engineers teamed up with an architect who made significant adjustments to the design, capturing Eiffel's attention and securing his support to submit the idea to the competition. Among several proposals, the one from the Eiffel Company was chosen. Although Gustave Eiffel did not actively participate in the conception of the idea, he was the main driving force during the construction, which began in 1887. A space next to the Seine River was prepared, and the tower would serve as the entrance to the fair. Its name would be the 300-meter tower, as it was to be 300 meters tall. At first glance, we have the four pillars of the tower, made of puddled iron. Puddling is a refining process of iron where the carbon content is reduced and sulfur is almost entirely eliminated, giving the material greater strength. This type of structure, as we can see, is unstable. To strengthen it, the active vector system was used, which consists of transmitting loads through linear elements, always aiming to create triangles, the most stable geometric shape, as a square can deform. But a triangle cannot unless we take the square and turn it into two triangles, which makes it a bit more stable unless we do something like this. This stability is thanks to the triangles. The four pillars of the tower are connected by arches, and these arches are linked by a series of bars and smaller arches, all crossed with diagonals. Here we see that although we are in the midst of the Second Industrial Revolution, ornamentation still holds an important place in architecture. Moving a little further up the structure, we observe a residual area here. This is the spandrel, which is the space left between an arch and its framing. Here it is covered by several arches, arranged radially from the center of the larger arch. The first level is completely surrounded by corbels, which help support a cantilever, completing the total area of this floor, and the entire perimeter was covered with small barrel vaults, ending in paired semicircular arches called paired arches because they come in twos. Additionally, there are rounded railings on the inside to look down from. At the particular detail of this level is that Gustave Eiffel selected 72 scientists, mostly French, and inscribed their names between the corbels of the first level. These are known as the 72 wise men of the Eiffel Tower. The structure continues rising as an extension of the four pillars until the next level, where we again see corbels. Only in this case, they slightly alter the square shape we had, making small diagonal cuts at the corners. On this base appears the second level, a bit less ornate than the level below. After this, the four pillars merge into one and continue to the top of the structure, reaching the third level, where we find more corbels, preparing an octagonal base. And on this, a kind of dome, reaching the maximum height of 300 meters, surpassing in height every structure made by humanity up to that point. But this brings problems. How can people reach the highest level? For this, diagonal elevators were built. In the east and west pillars, elevators were made to go from the ground floor to the first level. And in the north and south pillars, elevators were made that could go from the ground floor to the second level. Finally, an elevator from the second level to the summit was built. Although for technical reasons, the elevator could not make the complete journey, so an intermediate level, equidistant between the second and third levels, was created for passengers to transfer. This peculiar elevator had two cabins, where one was a counterweight to the other, meaning that both cabins had to operate simultaneously and would meet in the middle to transfer passengers. Finally, the structure was painted a reddish color. The fair began with the tower closed to the public while final details with the elevators were being completed. But when it was finished, it was inaugurated with gas lamps, and from the top, acting as a beacon, 3 beams of light were projected in the colors of the French flag. Despite being considered a mental monstrosity by art scholars during its construction, out of place in Paris, the 300-meter tower was a success and here to stay. After the exposition ended, the tower became the property of the city. But as compensation, Gustave Eiffel would manage the tower for the next 20 years. It's not clear when exactly, but at some point after this date, the official name of the tower became the Eiffel Tower. After the fair, the tower's popularity plummeted, and many efforts were made to revive tourism. For the 1900 Universal Exposition in Paris, the east and west elevators were replaced by 2 elevators that could reach the second level, and the north elevator was replaced with a staircase to the first level. Additionally, the tower was painted in an ochre tone. During the fair, the tower once again became the center of attention, but the revenue it generated was not enough to keep it running sustainably. In 1909, the tower returned to the hands of the city, and its demolition was considered. The process did not take shape, and at some point after this date, it was painted red again. In 1914, World War I broke out, and from the tower, enemy radio signals were intercepted, so the tower was preserved. It may have been an economic failure, but at least it had a very practical use. As the tower needed to generate income, in 1925, luminous advertising was installed on the faces of the tower. In 1929, a bust in honor of Gustave Eiffel was installed in the north pillar. In 1934, the luminous advertisement was removed. We arrive at 1937, when another World's Fair was held in Paris. For this occasion, it was decided to alter the tower, which until then had undergone minimal changes. Considered outdated, some of the tower's ornaments were removed, including the arcade that bordered the first level, which was replaced by a more modern structure. We reach World War II, during the Nazi occupation of Paris. The monument was closed, the elevators were sabotaged, and a large swastika flag was placed at the top. But it fell, so it was replaced with a smaller flag. A television transmitter was also installed. As the Allies approached Paris, Hitler ordered the tower's destruction, but it was not carried out. When France regained control of the city, the French flag was raised again at the top of the tower. In 1956, a fire in the television transmitter damaged the upper part of the tower. In 1957, repairs were completed by adding the current antenna, giving it a total height of 324 meters. From the 1960s onwards, the tower's international popularity increased, so everything was repaired, elevators were modernized, and unnecessary weight was removed from the structure. In 1968, it was repainted in a color known as Eiffel Tower Brown. By the 1970s, it was undeniably the most representative monument of France to the world. In 1983, the elevator from the second to the third level was replaced with one that could make the complete journey, so the intermediate level became inaccessible to tourists. In 1991, The banks of the Seine in Paris were declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which evidently also influenced the Eiffel Tower. As the years pass, the lighting system has become increasingly sophisticated, showcasing impressive light displays. And well, that's all for today. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And to not miss future content, subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. This was Andres Cervantes speaking. See you next time.